He admitted to dating others over the past year and admitted also that no one could ever compare to our connection. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In case you're new here, my name is Kim. This is Core Union. I wanted to share a success story from one of my awesome clients. And she basically sent me an email that summarized an entire year. And so this is going to be a lengthy video. I know that in advance. And I'm also going to try to film this with very little editing so I can just get it out today very quickly. So this could end up being a two-part video, but I'm going to see what I can do here. So get comfortable and enjoy this story. Before I do get into this, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. If you love my content, if you want me to be your coach, email me a short description to kim@coreunion.com, and then you can book your session with me or your package through my website, coreunion.com. And most people do prefer the 5 30-minute package because it does make it super affordable, but you do whatever you want. And then I will reply back to you within 2 or 3 days with my next available session. I do not reply on weekends typically. Sometimes I might, but for the most part, it is only Monday through Friday that you'll hear back from me. So if you book your session on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you may not hear back from me until Tuesday or Wednesday. So anyway, I'm going to read this. My client wrote, and if I pause and if I may leave out some information or change things as I read them to maintain her confidentiality. So to summarize our movement, here is the last year in a nutshell. My person and I broke up back in May of 2023. I thought that he would reach out, but he never did. We had no contact at all until I reached out to him basically in October. We texted a little bit that weekend, and when he didn't text back for a day or two, I completely spiraled, and it was awful. He reached out on my birthday the following week. Again, we had a few texts back and forth, but nothing deep, just light banter. Then again, no contact until I sent him a letter basically thanking him for our relationship and even for breaking up with me, as I needed to heal some deeper wounds. At the time I wrote the letter, I did not realize I was still working through those wounds. I truly meant what I said in the letter. It was authentic, and I did not care if he replied or not. It took him 3 weeks to reply. So I want you to note that it was not a letter that she was sending to gauge whether, like, it was unconditional and it was very authentic and real. She was just being real with him. And then he basically replied. But I want you to notice it did take him 3 weeks to reply, okay? When he texted, he thanked me for the very sweet letter. And he said he would love to see me if I was ever in town and if I had time. The story that I had told myself then was that he wasn't making much of an effort, but he did want to have a friendship. That was where she was then, but she continued to persist. I texted him the following week when I was going to be in town for work, and I didn't hear back. I followed up the next week when I was in the area again for work. He apologized for not replying to me prior and that he would like to meet. We met and we had a great time. And it was as if no time had passed. It was an amazing meeting, and we both kept it very light. And I recommend that you guys do that. Okay, so when you're not hearing back from your person, you don't freak out. You continue to persist. When he does or she does finally reply, you continue to persist and you stay in your end. And then if you guys do see each other, don't go deep, don't go making demands, don't bring up the past, things like that. Just keep it light. You could tell the feelings were still there on both sides. When we hugged, I felt like he didn't want to let me go. And this was now in the middle of October 2023. Now, just to go back, she started meeting with me July, August, September, October, 3 months prior to them seeing each other now. Okay, so just so you can, in case you need to pause and go back to see kind of the the movement. And then once we started meeting together and she really went deep into kind of the trust and persisting, it was August, September, October, 3 months in that then they saw each other because she was really going deep now. Now we fast forward another month. I texted him seeing if he wanted to have a friendly bet on a football game because he really enjoys football. He took me up on it, and the wager was that they go out on a date. He won, and he said now that I owed him a date. I was really excited, and then he never texted me again. I followed up with him 2 weeks later, and it was total silence, literally for months. I realize now, looking back, I was doing too much. So I stopped all 3D actions and I stayed within. Our mutual friend told me that he told her that he wasn't ready for anything serious. And this was around the holidays. I want to point out here that even when we experience things like that, her friend is also basically her pushed out and her divine messenger telling her what she believes. So that information, when she experienced that, was basically information for her to see that she believed that he wasn't ready. Okay. So a lot of her inner work at that point had to become that, back in the end, that they're both ready and they're both committed. So I did not hear from him at all. Our mutual friend did tell me that she saw him at a game. There was basically a 3P in the picture, and that was not helpful information at all. Then the first weekend in February, I ran into him at the airport in California. We're both from California. I was traveling home with my oldest daughter from a short weekend visiting some family, and he was coming back from a work event with some of his friends. I even changed flights coming home from one airport and airline to a totally different one because the daughter was traveling, wanted to come home later. That morning, I had a very strong feeling I was going to see him. I just knew it deep down. I knew I was going to see him. I didn't know where or when, but I knew. When I saw him, I was at the gate sitting down, and I literally saw him a couple rows in front of me, and I saw his back. I imagined deeply and I basically willed. I got extremely, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. I got extremely nervous and excited at the same time. I willed him to turn around and look at me. In other words, she very strongly imagined him turning around, and then he did turn around. Okay, I froze and I almost didn't move. We then both got up and talked for about 20 minutes. I was extremely nervous and pretty triggered afterward because he didn't seem warm at all and he didn't ask me to go out or anything. See, so when she saw him, even though she manifested out of like after changing flights and a completely different airport and flight, she literally felt deep down, she knew she was going to see him. Even with all of those changes, how perfect was it that he was on the exact same flight and literally 2 rows in front of her? But now that it was actually right there and he was physically right there, she got nervous and she got basically adhered back into ego and into the 3D. So now she was triggered a bit. I was nervous and pretty triggered afterwards because he didn't seem warm at all and didn't ask me to go out or do anything. I mentioned I wasn't sure he was still wanting to be friends because he hadn't texted back. He ignored that comment completely. One of his friends came over when we were talking, which was very kind and made me feel much better, as if there was some validation at that point. When he got on the plane, he did not look at me or try to engage with me at all at first. I kept thinking of the negative and made bad negative meanings in my head. She was assigning negative meanings to everything at that point. So she was now basically in her ego. Like it would have been nice for him to ask me to sit down or talk or something. I had big expectations, which caused me to second guess everything. The whole plane ride back, I went within and tried to calm myself. So she still did something really good there. Then there was no contact again for another month. When I was getting ready to go out on another date, she had met somebody else. He texted me. He said it was a nice surprise to see me at the airport and he wouldn't be traveling in the coming weeks and wanted to meet now for that date. We met and it was an incredible date. He told me how much he felt for me and he couldn't believe I didn't realize or know how much he cared about me. I told him I didn't know because basically he broke up with me. He said he was sorry and that he never meant to hurt me. I told him that I was sorry too. That was about all we talked about in the past about the past. Since that date, he has been texting me more and he asked about going out again, this time to meet at one of the properties that he purchased. It was once again an incredible and amazing evening. I brought up the past and asked if it was something that I did which caused him to break up last year. I should not have done that because I know I caused it, but he said, we talked about this and I was very overwhelmed. I knew it was work travel and I knew he was overwhelmed with his feelings for me. See, this is the story that she knew deep down. I also know I was pushing out an anxious version of myself. I was going through a lot of stress myself with work and finances and was worried he was going to leave, which was, of course, what he did. My old story, even though my ex was abusive, was a serial liar and a cheater. I was still desperate for him to stay, but he left. Now I thank God that he did. Anyway, it was a beautiful evening. He admitted to dating others over the past year and admitted also that no one could ever compare to our connection. Let me see. I told him the same thing, even though I had only recently started dating. We did not talk about any future date. I am trying not to beat myself up for being too available either. I have to get those dating coaches out of my brain. He has been texting me regularly now. When I do get triggered, I go within and I calm myself and I live in the end and I have a strong sense of knowing. I actually always had that, even when we were not in contact for all of those months. Looking back at this past year, the first few months after he broke up with me, I was devastated. I did all I could to dig myself out of despair. I know now that I was so devastated because I was too attached. I had been in a very unhealthy and toxic relationship years before, and not the best relationships in general over my lifetime. And I never thought this new man would hurt me. When we met, I was much more confident than I had been. But slowly over time, my old insecurities and self concept of myself, all of myself in relationships, got mirrored back to me. I thought he was safe, but he was reflecting my self concept in relationships back to me. This is so powerful. My old story involves a woman I do not identify with anymore, a victim of horrible emotional and verbal abuse, and lots of cheating and lying. As I was working on myself and my self concept, self esteem, and confidence, I got back to my I am awareness. I have grown so much through this on so many levels. I have been in some pretty awful relationships before, and I always thought I leveled up afterwards, but this one was different. It took me falling in love with someone on this level to really do the inner work and spiritual work. See, our specific person, our mirror souls, are the catalyst to us becoming the strongest and best, most powerful versions of ourselves. I just added that. Even though the 3D hasn't yet reflected my complete end, I know now that no matter what, I have myself. And I am proud of myself for not being attached to him now. I do not need him, but I do know and trust in my end. I am a powerful, limitless human being, and I am fulfilled no matter what. I also know that time is irrelevant. In the first few months, I was so worried about all the time that was passing. Now I am so much more at peace and settled. I don't worry if a few weeks have gone by that we haven't had a date. I am okay with that because I'm okay with myself. I hope your listeners find inspiration in my stories, and I'm sure that you guys have. This journey is not easy, but if you do it for the right reasons, that is ultimately to get back to knowing who you are and that you are a powerful creator, that you are the powerful creator you were born to be, then it can only be rewarding. You are meant to have your every desire in this lifetime. Know and trust in yourself and your God-given power. Too many of us go through this life without knowing who we truly are. Once you take control and realize that you created the bad and good in your life, then you will move forward with the knowing that you can create more of the good. Put your awareness on what you want to create. Don't simply watch content, but do the work. Do what is good and effective for you. You must find your own way, but if you stick with it, it will prove to you to be beneficial. You will get your every desire if you remain in faith in your end. Thank you, Kim, from the bottom of my heart for being such an inspiration. You have helped me so much. I'm eternally grateful. I look forward to our next session, and soon I will be telling you that we are in a committed, fulfilling, safe, healthy, and loving relationship leading to marriage. So I know that that was longer than most videos. And I really don't have much more to say except learn from her success story that it doesn't matter. You guys get really caught up with your limiting fears and you get micromanaging in the middle too much. And then you're adhered back in the old story instead of stepping back and pulling out of the 3D and reminding yourself of what this entire process is. Your specific person, your mirror soul, whatever you want to label the relationship, the person that deep down in your soul has literally put you into this journey. You have to realize that everything that you want with them, they want with you. That while you're doing the inner work, they are feeling it. They may or may not be consciously aware of everything that you're consciously aware of, but on an energetic level, it is all happening simultaneously. So as you do the inner work and then you trigger yourself by the habits that I talk about that you need to stop doing in almost all of my videos, when you stop that behavior and you maintain your trust and you maintain your awareness of who you are in your reality, who your person is to you, who God is, and you stay in faith and trust, and your higher self concept is that of somebody who is in their power, trusting in everything in their heart and soul, and allowing and knowing that the unfolding is happening, and really having a deep faith and trust in your end. You will not spiral as much. When you stop messing with the 3D, you will not be triggered as much. You won't spiral as much. And you have to also have a very deep understanding that sometimes you guys are just coming into this, you're watching videos and stuff. And when we say to do the inner work, you haven't quite done the inner work for long enough to actually make the inner shift and change. But when you are super dedicated, within a matter of like it is instant that you will start to shift and change who you are, literally who you are going to become in a matter of 2, 3, 4 weeks. You're going to be a different version of yourself. And when you are a different version of yourself, your life literally has no choice but to reflect that back to you. So stay in a deep trust and faith in your end. Continue to persist and do the inner work and stop triggering yourself. Just stop triggering yourself. You can do this without a coach, but if you need a coach, reach out to me. I know that I can help you. And I gave you exactly what you need to do in the beginning of this video. In the meantime, please do affirm below that you are going to step into your power as being a powerful manifester in your reality, trusting and knowing in your ability to create, trusting and knowing that God's desire for you is your soul's desire, so you can trust that it's done and it's complete. All creation is done. That's probably a little too much to affirm, so just affirm it with a heart below. I love you guys so much. I will talk to you soon. Have an amazing and incredible day, and I'll be coming up with a new success story very soon. I love you so much. Have an amazing day. Bye.
Nothing can come, nothing can come, nothing can come between us.